there is some good that comes out of bad if you're a good, faithful person.
The feud between NFL Hall of Fame quarterback Brett Favre.
This is people in positions to help people over blatantly and deliberately, allegedly, obviously, in this whole thing. And Brett is just one of like 38 names that is listed in this entire thing.
And former punter Pat McAfee is continuing with neither side backing down.
From a personal perspective, I think it's about reinventing yourself. You feel as though it's gotten stagnant where you are.
With much controversy surrounding Favre.
NFL Hall of Famer Brett Favre is facing questions tonight of whether he knowingly took $5 million of state welfare money to build a new volleyball facility for his daughter's team 5 years ago at her university and his alma mater.
Favre had previously denied that he knew about the use of welfare funds for this project, but these texts reveal he was worried about how the funding would look. He then texted New the following: "If you were to pay me, is there any way the media can find out where it came from and how much?" New responded, "No, we never had that information publicized."
That's not good. It's terrible. It is what's wrong with the world. And one of the greatest football players of all time is directly tied into it. And that is not good. That's not a fun thing to happen, but it is happening, and we should talk about it.
You've kind of fallen into the trap as well. Status quo is just status quo, and it's the way it is.
Brett Favre got this money from two nonprofits. The founder of the nonprofits has since been indicted as part of the largest embezzlement scheme in Mississippi history. State officials say the money Favre got should actually have gone to needy families in the Magnolia State.
As we have covered, because he called out the former quarterback from Mississippi,
I've officially been served by Brett Favre.
McAfee, along with Fox Sports 1 co-host Shannon Sharp and Mississippi State Auditor Shad White, have seen litigation brought their way by Favre. The latest with McAfee is the trading of barbs publicly through the upcoming litigation both parties face. After McAfee filed a motion to dismiss Favre's lawsuit, the QB's attorneys, led by former Trump lawyer Eric Hirschman, was amended and goes into further detail on McAfee's claim that Favre stole money from the poorest in the state of Mississippi. Sports and gaming attorney Daniel Wallach tweeted that Favre put in an additional 7 paragraphs of, quote, actual malice, close quote, allegations. His attorneys state McAfee knew the statements were false because the lie is the point, they said, and spouted McAfee essentially did it for clout. Wallach then notes what was put in paragraph 23, which I will read to you right now. McAfee knew that, or had a high degree of awareness of the fact that, he had no basis for his false statements that Favre had stolen money from poor people. No media report or anything or anyone else had stated that Favre had stolen any money from anyone. In fact, many of those same reports stated that criminal charges had been brought against certain of the defendants, but not against Favre. The following paragraph, per Favre's attorneys, also reads, nor was it ever alleged or argued in the MDHS proceeding that Favre had ever knowingly received welfare funds, much less that Favre had ever stolen money from poor people in Mississippi. I have to be very clear about this before we move on. This is the defense that they cling to and that they must put forward because there is so much on the line for Brett Favre. Future endorsements, which were paused, his radio show with SiriusXM, which was also paused, and overall his reputation. These are the pillars of success for any person, let alone a former Hall of Famer who could also, I don't think it'll happen, but who could also have his Hall of Fame credentials be revoked because of this scandal. Now, if I may, we spoke with the journalist who broke this story, and I did ask her, what would you say to the fans? If you haven't seen it already, check it out on demand. It was a 20-plus minute interview. What would you say to the fans of Brett Favre who say he did nothing wrong at all? Here was her answer.
A lot of people who are tuning into the story, they're really hung up on the is this a crime element of it? And,
right.
That's where they really hone in on, did he know that it was TANF money, right? That seems to be a sticking point for people. And I don't think it matters if he even knew what temporary assistance for needy families is. when you see the kind of workarounds that he was doing to get around what he knew to be prohibitions on the use of this money, because he even says in one text, is this getting around the brick and mortar prohibition? He uses the term brick and mortar, which is, from the federal statutes on TANF. But I think, like focusing on whether it's a crime or not, it's still a story for me, whether it's a crime or not. Yeah. And it just speaks to, I think, the level of protection that he felt that he had, being the celebrity that he is in Mississippi, that he could get away with using this money in this way. And to your point about the prison contracts, all of this speaks to me to the big business of poverty.
And then there was more from Anna Wolf when she spoke with Van Lathan and Rachel Lindsay.
There's been sort of a trickle of information, but we're learning more and more here recently through text messages, both that I obtained and that have been entered into a court filing, that show kind of how Favre was discussing these deals with welfare officials. So, he was aware that this money was coming from the Department of Human Services. He was working with John Davis on pulling down this money.
Nancy News side put forth text messages between her and Favre that showed them discussing the volleyball stadium. And even at one point, Brett Favre was asking, if UFSM can't take the money, maybe you can pay me under an advertising contract, and then I'll put the money in the volleyball stadium. So you can see kind of the workarounds that they were trying to pull.
Mike Florio, a former attorney turned football writer, wrote in his PFT column the following: while the revisions address the cosmetic flaws contained in the original filing, Favre still might face an uphill climb when trying to prove that McAfee's comments amount to defamation of a public figure. The reported facts and circumstances seem to justify exactly what McAfee was doing, poking fun at the appearance that Favre may have indeed been aware that the public funding he allegedly, apparently, and or actually was trying to finagle for one or more private projects was coming from cash that was allegedly, apparently, and or actually intended for welfare recipients. And even if Favre didn't actually know where the money was coming from, the evidence and allegations that have surfaced in one or more public documents filed regarding the ongoing litigation, including texts attributed to Favre, suggest he knew that something about the situation was potentially unsavory. Some would say that otherwise he wouldn't have expressed concerns, as he allegedly, apparently, and or actually did, about the media becoming aware of the situation. Favre has denied all wrongdoing. What will likely happen here, along with many other defamation cases, is a settlement, and both parties will move on.